Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is our first episode of the WUSA podcast. Today, I have Nick Pfeifle, your president of the Waterloo Undergrad Student Association, joining me today. Nick, if you want to give a quick introduction of yourself.
Hi. Yeah, welcome back is a bit of an interesting way of putting it if this is our very first one. I'm Nick Pfeifle. I just finished nanotechnology engineering here at the University of Waterloo. I don't know. I guess I'm excited to be here. I think this will be a very experimental first episode. So I expect things will go off the rails almost immediately, but we'll see how it goes.
Indeed we will, I guess so. And so nanotechnology, that's a very interesting program. So why did you select that as your field of study?
Yeah, okay. So in engineering, you have to take a certain number of math courses. And when I was selecting my program in the first place, I was checking how many you'd be required to do for each program, and nano had the fewest. And I thought, yes, perfect. I will have to take less calculus, only to realize that it's part of the electrical department. So you get fed into the advanced calculus stream, which meant I did as much math as everyone else, with the exception, I think, of the softwares who have to do even more. Ugh. So there are a little bit of regrets there, but otherwise I've very enjoyed the program. It's been fun. I like small stuff. I like hard stuff. It's great.
So they were hiding the math in the details, I guess, and you got stuck with it at the end of the day.
It's fine. I don't know. I'm not a big math fan. My parents are both mathies. Ugh, awful, terrible. They both went here in the 80s, and that was an interesting experience. Seeing, I guess, their interpretations of what the university looks like, and then a very different experience on the ground the moment that I'm in a different faculty from them. I don't know how they could possibly handle it. Math is very much to me just a tool. I know that there is in some way beauty to it, but it doesn't make itself obvious to me. I'm hidden behind the veil of the complexity.
Yeah. So your parents went to the university here. Now you're going to the university here. Obviously, you have a lot of connections to the local community.
Yeah. I didn't really try and end up here. I submitted my application to U of T, but I screwed up the process. So I didn't get any information from them on acceptance or rejection. So I ended up here. Great. So I didn't intend to go to Waterloo, but I did end up at Waterloo. It's been kind of nice. I don't know, I get to see my parents relatively often. I have some other members of family in town. It's all right. I don't know. Your parents being within a 20-minute drive of you is an experience that I think we've all been familiar with at some point in our lives. It just keeps going. It's fun.
It certainly does. And so I guess with your free time, is there anything that you like to do when you're not, constantly being berated with different, meetings and things like that in your role?
Oh yeah, I'm a big cyclist. Some of the, I guess, largest sinks of my time, even like in this role, are going between different places in town. And I've been doing that largely by bike, for years and years. So that's been very fun. Though it has resulted in me being hit by a car twice. Only one of those times was serious.
Really? Wow.
It's fine. And by serious, I meant like my bike was totaled. I'm fine. No lasting impacts as far as I can tell. But yeah, no, I spend a lot of my free time biking. Like to do some trails. Gearing up to do Guelph to Godrich soon. So that should be exciting. I have to fix my bike as well. It's the spring term, which means that all of the parts are broken already from, I guess, trying to ride in slush, and they're all rusting out because I'm scared of fluids. Fluids are not my strong point. I don't know if you saw during the debates of the campaign, but every time I was talking on camera, I managed to spill some sort of liquid on myself. And this happens like constantly. Most meetings I have like a coffee stain or just water. I don't understand. I think it's because I'm too fast when I drink. So I'll start a sip and then I'll like put it down much too quickly and I'll get splashback from trying to move on from the activity I was just doing as fast as possible.
So when it comes to your biking, I guess Waterloo is traditionally not known as maybe the most bikeable city. Do you think there are some changes that need to be made there to make it more accessible for students?
Yeah, of course. There are some pretty obvious ones, and there are some much more complicated ones. The stuff that I like to see are I guess adding protected bike lanes, that's one of the big pluses. I come from the John Forster school of biking, which is if you can go fast enough, then who cares? But I recognize that doesn't actually include a large proportion of the biking population. So, my solution is always just go faster. For a lot of people, and especially people who are learning a bike or who are getting comfortable with it, having protected lanes, having fewer lanes of car travel, especially if people are in bikes, you can get a lot more people on the road. They just pack in closer together than a car would. So you can remove lanes, replace them with like bus lanes, especially, is really helpful. That's something that you see in some other cities as well, that if you have a bike and bus lane, then like as long as the bikes know to get out of the way when the bus comes, you can get a lot more throughput than you'd otherwise expect. Stuff like that, and also just lower speed limits. Actually, it's one of those like weird paradoxes where the optimal speed limit ends up probably being a little bit lower than you would normally have, but I don't know, it's kind of fun. I like transport engineering, not because I studied it at all, but because it pisses me off so much to get in the way of cars, and I guess to get hit by cars too. Though it has made me feel very confident about my ability to take out a car, seeing how much damage I can do without really injuring myself.
You're a threat, you know. Cars have to stay away from you.
I'm a dangerous projectile on the road. But like just being able to shoulder check a mirror off and not be substantially injured by that, pretty great. I don't know. It's a feeling that I'm not going to do again on purpose, but in the moment, you feel very cool.
I'm sure that, you know, that power that you wield, you know, also applies to your now new position in the role of the presidency. And so I'm wondering, you know, what made you curious about the position, and then why did you end up, you know, running?
Curious. Okay. So I don't know. I've known some of the past executive teams, especially like I talked with Catherine this morning, even who is in Benjamin Easton and Schwartz and Steph's team from 2020.
2020, yeah.
So I knew about what they were up to there, and I had some problems with it, and these are well documented issues. There are many general meeting agendas which have, or I guess minutes that have like my lines of complaint throughout them. But I guess also I felt strongly about the way that we were operating campus, and knowing the role of the president and some of the other ways that like that interacts with campus was important enough to me that I felt like someone in my position would be a good fit. And I'm glad that people largely agree with me. But then also I've been focusing a lot on delegation. So knowing that I'm not always the best fit for a role, and trying to fill that position with other people who do well. So at the moment I sit on no boards except for WUSAs, and I'm kind of happy with that. All of our societies have boards, and I don't interact with them at all. And I'm glad for that, because I don't have time, and I also don't think that they always want me there.
Yes, and I know that societies can definitely be a mess at times.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's not fun. No, it's quite bad. But we like to pretend it's nice. It's been an interesting experience there. Some of the more rewarding stuff is seeing like a lot of the grassroots stuff, oftentimes without WUSA's interaction at all. In like advocacy for the city. So we had Town and Gown yesterday, which is the, I guess, communication between the universities and the city of Waterloo. And it was nice to highlight some of the work from the clubs and individuals who got together to return the night bus, and some subset of them were worked on. We're preventing the GRT from scaling back ion transit. And there's even more to do there. I don't know. I've been documenting some of the hostile architecture between Leicester and Phillip recently. There's a lot of spikes on that road. I don't know if you've noticed, but I found some metal spikes yesterday. There's a lot of wood spikes. Those property owners are very angry at being in an area where people walk, which feels like it's par for the course. But it's something that really is quite hostile to movement of people. And objectively a bad thing for the community. So exciting to keep working there and helping out our clubs and our individuals who are engaged with improving our city life. The philosophy concept that I'm going to totally butcher, that your space influences who you are and you influence your space. So if we want to have, I guess, less walls in our interactions, maybe we remove walls. not open concept offices, but
Yeah, I heard it here first. The president is against all walls.
Yeah, I don't like
tear them down. Just roofs.
we'll just go outside every time.
Yes,
Just large tents, no sound baffling at all. It's the best way of having meetings is fully open to the public at all times, regardless of whether or not they want to listen in. We're going to make them listen.
Yeah, I think that's the Greek, philosophy behind it. Back in the day, back in the agora or whatever they call it.
Acropolis, Agora. I feel like Agora is better. Acropolis, I think, is a temple building. I'm getting nods from behind the camera, which I did not take class 104. Is that the right one?
I have no idea.
Okay, but I didn't take that course, so I don't know what's up there. Yeah, force the public to always engage with you at all times. I will show up where you are and make you talk to me. This is how I find entertainment in my life.
This is how we build, WUSA student connection,
Yeah, by forcing it at all times.
So as someone who's, been engaged both with, grassroots efforts, but also, within, WUSA and also your societies, like, what would you say to, like, let's say a first or second year student who's looking to, be more engaged?
There's some fun ones. I really enjoyed the Senate route where you go and complain about academics a lot. That's a fun avenue. But I think overall there are a lot of other opportunities. And rather than necessarily going through WUSA, which is an acceptable pathway, I think you'll find it more rewarding to focus on smaller things in your community and then move from there. So not to harp on it too much, but things like tree planting are something that I personally very much enjoy, and then using that to move into other forms of advocacy work related to the environment. So when I was in high school, I did a bunch of volunteering there, and then I did a bunch of sustainable forestry, some urban stream syndrome, trail mapping, all sorts of big geo buzzwords to help the community in various ways. And then, oh no, people don't care. That's the worst outcome. There's a lot of getting used to constant failure as well, where no matter how passionate you are about your project, other people will not be. So when you need that sort of community input, it can take quite a long time for you to get on board and everybody else on board with what's going on, and then just, I guess, keep pushing at it. I don't know. I also didn't use a very traditional route to get into student politics, I suppose. I mean, the Senate is a route, but I don't know the last time that transition really happened. And the other aspect of just, working independently. And that's fine a lot of the time. A surprising amount of change can happen with a surprisingly few number of people. You don't need big systems, and oftentimes it might just slow you down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have fun. Try your own thing. Maybe it'll go terribly. Clubs? I think I'm supposed to say clubs. I think that's always the answer. Clubs. Yeah. Have you checked out the clubs portal? I don't know how well it's working right now, but I assume that's where you're supposed to go. Unless you're in certain regions of India, and we're dealing with a technical issue at the moment there, where I think it's blocking access to the WUSA website. At which point, I guess email clubs you're interested in?
Yeah, I don't know what that might be an interesting thing to get to the bottom of. But I know they just did a recent update of their clubs portal system, so I think it should be
maybe this is
an interesting
an ongoing bug that we're dealing with. So unless you're in certain regions of the globe that have accidentally blocked the WUSA website, do your best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so getting back to your talking about, often work that you do gets, I don't know what the official term would be, but, you don't get approval.
Axed, killed, like, obliterated, totally ignored.
You don't get thanks, for the hard work you
recognition.
Recognition. There we go. That's the term I'm thinking of. But yeah, given the role that you're in now, oftentimes it's seen as not to say this, not to toot my own horn, but it's a very unforgiving role in the amount of work that is required of you. And so, is there anything about the role so far, given you're now a month in, that wasn't expected, or things that weren't in line with what you had thought beforehand?
Weirdly enough, I don't think so. I don't know. I spent quite a while preparing for this. I debated for about a year whether or not to move forward with the presidency. So I already knew a lot going into it, and I already had plans. So a lot of the work I do is set up that my role assists it, but doesn't necessarily require it. So some of the planning stuff I've been involved with, some of the stuff with the city, it's a benefit to, I hope, the students that I'm in the presidential role, but it didn't really matter. And that's also how I've been focusing my time. So we did a bit of a reshuffle of the responsibilities between myself and Aria. And that's also helped in some ways as well, where, I don't know, I feel like everything shouldn't be on my shoulders. So making sure that it isn't has been big in getting things moving forward. And then also, like, I find that in a lot of ways, I need very little praise to feel like I've done a fine job. I don't know. I guess my highlight of the day has been just having a nice coffee. And I'm like, yes, this was fine. Everything was okay. Yeah, no, it's been fun. I in some ways, labor ends up being its own reward for me, which I think can be quite depressing if I didn't care about the work. But I don't know, we've seen some changes. I'm still trying to track some people down. I've been unable to reach the SciSoc president because he's been, I think, in Costa Rica. And that's the one that's been bugging me the most. It's already in the back of my head being like, how do I contact somebody who's doing field work right now? That's the only thing that's really rubbing me the wrong way right now.
WUSA needs to personally fly you down to Costa Rica and airdrop you in. You just put on the parachute.
For a 15-minute meeting.
For a 15-minute meeting.
Can I add this thing to your board agenda? And they'll go, yes.
Yeah, there you go. You know, this is how change gets done.
I don't know. It's been fun, but also I don't. If I wanted to be seeking, I guess, fame and riches, I would not be in the career of the student union president. I don't know. It's been fun. It's fine. I'm having fun. I'm having a lot more fun. Actually, that's one of the interesting things is May is conference season. This is something that I didn't realize because UW runs year-round. UW runs year-round. And as a result, we don't really have an off season, but other schools do, and theirs is in May. So talking to a lot of the other presidents of various schools around Ontario and Canada, and seeing how much worse they're taking the job, I guess, what's the word? There's some good schadenfreude out of that one. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of worrying how much stress they put on themselves.
Yes.
I
think WUSA is lucky in that regard. There are lots of well-trained full-time staff in place to support the president. I know at other institutions it is not always the case, and so you can end up with like your accountant and also your like marketing and everything being done by like the president. And so
yeah, no, that part's worked out. I still have many a complaint about the way that WUSA operates, but I don't think we have bad people as much as systems that still need to be worked out. But man, talking to these people, it's very worrying to see what the possible outcome could be if things went very differently. I don't know. There's a lot more stress. It's made me significantly more like our double university newspaper system. Having both math news and imprint, it makes me very glad. Because they serve different roles, and even though I have an obvious bias towards one, it's very obvious. It doesn't mean that I don't think they both serve an important role in our ecosystem. And holy shit, man, when you only have one and they really are trying to fight everybody, that seems to be one of the major complaints from a lot of the other presidents is how much they recoiled from attention, which seems odd for a very public-facing role, but yeah, I don't know. I've been handling things well. It's been kind of fun doing interviews because I just get to take a break. We have Convocation coming up, which is a lot of very formal smiling for hours at a time. That should be a good time. I'm excited about that for I guess having my schedule as full or as empty as I want because everybody else I would have meetings with is at Convocation the entire time. So
yeah. So much free time on your hand for that period, slight reprieve before it's back into the absolute chaos.
It's still very long days of sitting and smiling, but everyone else is also in the exact same boat. Yeah. So it's just campus shuts down on the I guess administrative side for like a week, as everyone sits on a stage in black muumuus and reads names for hours, which is very important, but also I've got like 12 ceremonies to go to or something. It's fine, including my own at one point. It's exciting. I don't know. It should be fun. We're expecting, actually, this is like a side question. I'm not perfectly certain, but I'm wondering, because we have like 2 weeks, whether or not, okay, they're not going to have sod down, but whether or not the Indigenous circle on SLC Green is going to be done in time for Convocation or not.
It seems like any building on this campus always runs over time. And so you'd think that they would expect to bake in some additional time when they plan out projects, but it never seems to actually happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's the pie theory of doing project management, where you get everything takes about 3 times longer than you want, and then when you accommodate for it taking 3 times longer than you want, it takes 3 times longer in addition.
Oh yeah, the Chaska Restaurant that WUSA's been looking to open has been under development for at least a decade now. Of not the construction portion, but at least the fact finding and the contemplation and the going to board and all that.
I went to Campus Bubble when it was open.
Oh, I know, back in the day. That was before my time.
Yeah, it did high school exams and study in the library and get Campus Bubble, and now it is being replaced fully. Finally, I don't know. 10 years of
10 years of development, and we're finally, hopefully, it was supposed to happen in my term, but hopefully in your term we'll see it open up. Before it's either that or they'll come back and be like, sorry, more delays again, and then it'll be on to the next. But yeah, it seems like that.
Could be you.
Yeah, point to the camera. But it seems like that's something that very often happens at this institution. I'm sure it happens at every institution, but yeah. Anyway, speaking of this coming year, you had spoken earlier about things that you're focusing on. Is there 1 or 2 things that you're wanting to highlight as your key priorities for this coming year?
As was hopefully the case with you, the Ombudsperson job continues to be a thorn in the side because we're unable to influence it except for through bugging them about the fact that we're already ready to hire them. I don't know how much of a priority it is, other than the fact that at least once a week I'm emailing the secretariat or seeing her in person and going, hey, how's the process? And then making up an excuse about why it's gone wrong, which is very frustrating, but haha.
Another thing that's been in development for at least a decade now, I think, as well.
Yeah. I have a mic found in the office, and I have it now up in my space. The sticker for your fridge magnet. That's what they're called, a fridge magnet of where the Ombudsperson's old office was and their job, which has only made me sad seeing how old that fridge magnet is. It should be so much easier than that. It should be so much easier. Why don't we have one yet? Come on, this is embarrassing.
For those who might not know about what an ombudsperson is, do you mind giving a quick explanation or
All right, they're part of the Secretariat's office, which is its own thing to explain later. But they're part of a university office. But their job is to act as a third party to support students in legal trouble or with appeals processes, or intervene when things are going unfairly. Their job is very important to making sure that things run well, and it's not been seen as a priority for quite a long time on the university side, because in some ways they end up being quite a nuisance to the university stepping in and I guess having that sort of practice with the system, but also being a third party so they don't get influenced too much by rapid shifts in opinions, but they still are a very useful and important structure, and lacking one is bad, because then we don't have that official mechanism, and it falls on me or Rory in the past to serve in that role when we are not trained and not necessarily lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. I don't think you're a lawyer.
Nope.
Neither of us are lawyers. But someone who should have this responsibility and understand what's going on, and yet if they don't exist, then what we have to amount to is relearning the same crap over and over again, and hoping that this time the process will work better, which is quite depressing. So that's priority one.
Yep.
There are other things about some harassment policies that I'm excited is the wrong word there, but excited about getting implemented. That's something that seems very useful. And then we've been pushing quite hard, kind of in support with climate justice ecosystem for better disclosure of investments that the university has, and I guess sort of the climate footprint we have, because it's hard to advocate effectively for change and implement changes on campus without knowing what damage we're doing. So my top few there are the fact that we're still running on steam, which is actually not the worst possible choice, but we're running a lot of natural gas to heat it up, and the system's getting quite old. There's the fact that we use so much salt that it is giving hypertension to our outlying communities. That's quite nasty. That's very specific to Waterloo pollutant, something that we don't need that much of, and if our interior routes worked more effectively, we could use significantly less of. And then the big other one being all of our investments, and this is something that is harder for us to push on. Sometimes it's because there's a different party that's in charge of it, so that's the case with the pension fund. But then for other cases like the endowment, it's because they're trying to, I guess, hide behind things like pooled funds, index funds, things that have a lot of assets in them bundled, which are not necessarily easy to separate out, but that do have moral and ESG implications. So what does ESG stand for?
Environmental social governance.
Environmental social governance goals. I forget who set those, but associated with them that if we want to even approach our timeline of, I know they've downgraded it because like they're saying in the past like 100% by 2050, and now it's 80% reduction by 2050, which terrible sign. It's going to be a disaster. But if we want to even get somewhat close to any of these goals, we have to understand how much our money being in damaging locations can be a significant negative. And if they're just hiding where everything is invested and where they're making money from and where they're sending money to, it can be very challenging to be effective at bringing about change and talking about where the problems are. So the only reason why stuff like salt is so obvious is because it is that? No. Okay, never mind. So the only reason we can really tell about salt is because we're having these social impact factors in our public health system that just can't be hidden. So it's quite nasty. Also, our corrosion has gone up and our maintenance costs go up. Salt is really nasty. This is something I took a course on even in fourth year. You can take the corrosion course, which is part of nanotechnology engineering. It's a fourth year nano course or a third year chemical engineering course, and the entire aspect of adding excess electrolyte into a system is quite bad. There's a reason why ocean-going vessels have to get painted so often, and they take up so much of like the world's paint industry is just allocated to covering the sides of ocean-going boats, is because of how aggressive corrosion is. And adding salt damages people, and it damages our roads, and it damages our buildings, it damages our cars, it damages like everything quite nastily, and it's sharp, which people forget about. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, we're like throwing tacks on the road every year, and it's not surprising that this is causing trouble. That's my personal vendetta, is against salt specifically, but then more generally with like the climate justice ecosystem. They're doing their own important work related to divestment from fossil fuels, disclosure of where we are involved in fossil fuels, and then trying to divert us onto a path that is cheaper and better for our environment and our public health, which I'm not optimistic about, but I am hopeful.
Not optimistic about the university being able to meet their quoting.
No, cause they've already, all right, in like the 5 years I've been here, they've lengthened their target range and reduced their target amount. They understand, like the people in the sustainability office understand things quite well. And this was something nice, doing some tree planting earlier this month, seeing, oh yeah, like everyone who works here understands proper ways of building an ecosystem and avoiding monocultures and all these important things for maintaining like the wildlife on campus in a healthy way. But it's not a real mandate. It's best practice, but it gets often trumped by people not having the same priorities or trying to skirt moral or ethical obligations, some of which is illegal. If you're, especially like an environmental engineer, that's something that if you avoid is quite bad. And by quite bad, I mean terrible for everyone and the continuation of life on this planet. But that aside, it can be quite challenging to get everyone aligned. And people only really pay attention when it's already too late. So yeah, I'm very depressed about it. But it's not like it's impossible to recover. It's just gonna be really, really hard. So every little thing helps. I have some friends who are at this point almost like giving up on recycling, which pains me, especially because it was invented in this region, the recycling process. Not the recycling process, but the recycling bin. Waste sorting is an invention from Kitchener, as far as I'm aware.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very fascinating.
And yet our apartment blocks don't.
Don't accept recycling. No.
So annoying. It's something that Aria was talking to me about on Monday, was how frustrated he was feeling about the fact that there's no compost available in Waterloo, only for me to point out, oh yeah, there is. In fact, they do weekly compost pickups. It's just that we don't regulate our high-rise buildings, so they're not required to provide compost for recycling. Which, man, what a time. Yeah, I'm gonna keep trying, and I hope everyone else keeps trying as well. Because, I mean, even though we might not individually be able to do everything, totally go against what I said earlier about, oh yeah, you can do surprisingly much with very few people. This is one of those cases where maybe that isn't true, but everything does help and can at least delay things to get more people on board. You probably can't change everything on your own, but if you give up, then you make things harder for everyone else when they do try and get the ball rolling. So I'm not giving up. Hopefully you guys don't give up.
There we go. Get back to that message. Don't give up.
Yeah, I'm not giving up. As depressed as I am about it, there's no wavering in my convictions, even if it does hurt every day.
This podcast is just getting bleaker and bleaker by the.
I mean, we even have fun Goose to make noises.
There we go. Think of the geese.
Yeah.
If humans disappear, the geese would.
We can't say think of the geese. People don't like the geese. It may be our optimal choice for mascot, but the amount of frustration people receive from geese every year.
Have you ever been chased by a goose?
Not recently.
Not recently.
No. I don't know. It's one of the things. Positive sign is the better that we ensure our ecosystem is on campus, the more access coyotes have to the geese population to keep them in control. So
that's what we're gonna need.
Yeah.
Is packs of
roaming
coyotes.
Yeah, roving coyotes focused on geese. This is the goal of WUSA in the next coming year. I don't know. There's some fun ones. I like the coyote they have up in the Sky Garden in E5. Just hanging out to prevent roosting and to make it so that people can use it again, because they got rid of like the smoking problem. They open the door, geese immediately show up. I don't know. That garden can never stay open for longer than like a day. No. Sorry, I forget what you were asking about.
No, I don't think there was a question on the table.
Oh, have I been chased by a goose?
Oh yeah.
Not in a long time. I don't know. They're pretty small birds, all things considered. They're very puffed up. But I don't know, they're just like a foot tall. They're the shape of a football. They're not that intimidating. They're annoying, but they're not intimidating. Have stepped in a lot of goose shit, though. That is the consistent experience.
The Waterloo landmines, as they should be called. But yeah, hopefully that's a little bit of a brighter note. Is there anything else you'd want to communicate with students now that you have your chance here?
Yeah, the very important one is June 6th is Lettuce Club, 6 p.m. Bring your own head of lettuce. Be trying for that 2.82. Exciting. I probably will fail. Hopefully I'll at least finish within a reasonable time frame. But yeah, that is my number one priority at this time, compared to even everything else, just eating lettuce fast. If I have to drop all my other responsibilities to make it on June 6th, I probably will. This is something, it was on my campaign platform, so no one should be shocked by this. But yes, Lettuce Club is June 6th.
Mandated Lettuce Club.
Mandated Lettuce Club, yeah. go as fast or slow as you want. Help me build my data set so I can have better predictions of human lettuce rate consumption times. I have some fun graphs. No one wants to see my graphs ever, but I have some fun graphs. If you do want to see my graphs, you can email me and I'll happily show you my graphs. Okay. The lettuce log is my pride and joy, as silly as it is.
And what is your email, just for those?
Oh yeah, if it's more professional and suit and tie facing, that's Prez, spelled P-R-E-S at WUSA.ca. Or for inquiries that are pretty stupid and don't really require very much thought, you can use NS Pfeifle, spelled N-S-P-F-E-I-F-L, at uwaterloo.ca. Those are both acceptable. Understand that Prez inbox is for the highfalutin stuff, and the NS Pfeifle is for very silly things. You can reach me at either. If you found me on Discord, that's even lower brow than my NS Pfeifle email. But yeah, any of those methods are acceptable. Just tailor your scope to the appropriate inbox, and you'll get replied to in an appropriate amount of time.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you for joining us for this first pilot podcast, our first sort of comeback after the Winging It podcast. And so,
thanks for having me, Rory.
No problem. And for the viewers at home, I thank you for listening, and we'll catch back up with you all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.